Are you under the impression that we live in an absolute democracy?
No,
where
we live in a representative
people,
democracy.
Yeah, we do live in a representative democracy, and those representatives do not necessarily, their actions do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the people that they represent.
So you support democracy in principle, just not ours.
Welcome back guys to Manlord Reacts. In this video, I'll be reviewing an interview, actually a discussion between Michael Knowles, a well-known political commentator and an author, and between some students who identify as different people or as different genders, or we'll see.
Question, when did you start to identify as transgender?
Started to identify as transgender. Internally, I've noticed the sort of mismatch between my identity and the body that I was given and the roles that society has placed upon me. That mismatch was pretty clear from a very young age. I'm not going to pretend that I was a woman all along. I was born with a female brain. But I'd say probably since around 4K, like school.
4K?
Like 4-year-old kindergarten, like preschool.
Okay. What do you think caused it? If you say you weren't, it's not like you were born in the wrong body or something, then what do you think caused it?
I think it's quite simple, really. I think some people like ketchup and some people don't. I wanted to live my life this way. I wanted to pursue these characteristics, these traits.
No, I'm not denying that you want or
that I want to do that,
but I'm just kind of asking why.
Yeah, I mean, I think the same reason why anybody identifies as the gender they were assigned at birth. Well, it just feels kind of natural.
When did you publicly start doing it?
I'd say I came out as trans to everyone except for my family members, because it wasn't safe in my household.
What do you mean it wasn't safe?
Why wasn't it safe?
Yeah.
I don't want to get into the grotesque details, but I was in a pretty abusive household. My father was not very accepting, but my mother.
Do you think maybe that might have had anything to do with, all of this?
No, the abuse and whatnot didn't really. I don't see any correlation with that in my gender identity. I could see the look on your face
because I've just heard
the talking point.
I've heard it's not just. I mean, I've just heard it from people who have detransitioned, or that sometimes that correlates.
Yeah, I don't like. Trust me, I'm not proud to say that I grew up in an abusive household and I also happen to be trans. I don't want to fuel that statistic, but I'm also not going to be dishonest about my upbringing.
Yeah. Now you are not trans.
I am.
You're just
trans.
You're trans too? Mm-hmm. No, you're not.
I am.
So what are you?
I'm non-binary.
Oh, all right. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but you're not saying you're a man.
I'm not saying I'm a man now.
And you would have at some point in your life said you're a woman.
I don't think I ever said I was a woman.
A little girl? I don't know.
Sure, yeah.
You did, okay. But then when did you decide you're non-binary?
I didn't know what transgender or non-binary was until I was 14, 15.
Most people had not heard of it until recently.
I mean, it existed, but I hadn't heard of it.
I suppose we'll perhaps agree to disagree on that.
You don't think it existed until recently?
No, I think people have been confused about their sex, and I think they've had all sorts of aberrant desires for all of history. But I don't think it's a real category, basically. So I don't mean it in any disrespectful way. I just don't think, I don't think it's possible to have a male body but be a female, because I don't think that's how body and soul or how identity actually works.
So I think what we're saying is that transgenderism, let's just say as an ideology, has existed for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
The first books that were burned in the Holocaust were about transgender people, about sexual studies.
Well, yeah, there was all sorts of sort of sexual, and it goes back obviously much further than the 1940s. People had these desires. But it is I suppose the difference would be transvestitism has existed for all of history, always been sort of, cabarets and red light districts and things like that. But the ideology, meaning the view that a man could say he really is a woman, or a woman could say she really is multiple, they or them, or not either a man or a woman, that's a relatively new ideology.
No.
Not the behavior, but...
We have, looking back, I mean, obviously historical records going back thousands of years get kind of shaky just because, we aren't able to preserve text that long, and maybe text even didn't exist, but...
They did exist. We actually have...
Not for all of human history.
Well, thousands of years, yeah, but not like...
Oh, not going back to Adam in the garden. That's probably true.
But there's evidence of people with... assigned male skeletons in traditionally female clothing and attire in burial, and we have the same vice versa. People, this is one of the specific examples I'm thinking of was Norse. There was a female skeleton that was buried with traditionally male burial rites and clothing.
How do they know the skeleton's female?
Well, I said female because obviously I believe that gender is something social rather than just biological, but
the scientists were able to identify it by the skeleton.
We know that sex is unambiguous.
Yes.
I don't think we're denying that.
There's this odd idea among conservatives that transgender people don't understand that biological sex exists, or that we're deluded.
Some don't. Some don't. Some do. You obviously do, but some don't.
No.
I mean, I have yet to meet anybody.
I've yet to meet anyone.
I've seen people clipped out of context to look like that, but I haven't.
Those people are talking to me. I mean, these are people. I promise you, I've spoken to these people on camera in some cases. But in any case, you don't feel that way.
I and have
so
never
felt
that way.
You're non-binary. You said that you came to this realization at 14. What do you think kind of pushed you over that edge at 14?
I think intense emotional distress at the prospect of needing to navigate through life being someone's daughter, someone's sister, someone's girlfriend, someone's wife, someone's mother. That's just something that wasn't really a role that I wanted to fill, and a role that I felt intensely distressed at the prospect of needing to fulfill.
Why is that?
It's difficult to explain, and it would be difficult to explain in a very short period of time. It's just one of those things that you feel deep down in your soul.
You mean it would be difficult to explain even to yourself, or you're just saying it would be difficult to articulate this thing that I understand?
It's difficult to articulate. It's kind of an abstract thing.
Well, we just saw her admitting into it. She just said that, okay, because she was pressured by the society and all the responsibility that came with being a woman, that is the reason she didn't stay woman, and she chose to identify as a different person. And as you can see, it's not the argument that they usually make. Oh, I explored myself and I found myself as this different person. No, it's not that. It's different. It's just I was pressured into being this person. It's like if someone beats me every day and tells me, hey, you are I don't know, a lion, or let's say some bad animal. You are an elephant. I'm fat, and you are an elephant. You are an elephant. If I'm getting beaten by it, and if I'm getting pressured by it, I might start saying that I'm an elephant. It's just like that. It's not that you found yourself. It's just that you were pressured into doing this, and that's what she said. That she didn't want to take responsibility, all the pressure that she had, and now she became a woman. And that's, I mean, there are many possibilities that one could lead on to with these answers, but these are one of the most probable possibilities that you could say, that it's because of the pressure that she just mentioned, and it's not something that I'm making up. It's just what she said.
The cause of gender dysphoria and this discomfort with your sex assigned at birth and these roles is still pretty widely debated, even in the woke scientific community.
Right. And there would seem to be, even among the pro-trans kind of woke, a presumed plurality, or multiplicity rather, of causes. Like some people can fall into this as a bit of a sexual fetish.
That isn't transgender, though. That's
some guys who dress up like women will openly state that they're the Wachowski brothers, who are now the Wachowski sisters, said they fell into their transgender identity largely through pornography, and others will say that as well. Now, you might say, well, it wasn't pornography; it was because of I wanted to wear a dress when I was 4 years old or something. But I'm just saying, in some cases, it would appear to be more of a sexual fetish. For some people, it might be caused by some emotional distress. For some people, it might be caused by any number of other factors. Again, I'm just repeating what I've heard from the left. I'm not even stating.
I mean, the material.
I don't think that the left says that.
The material.
Well, the Wachowski brothers certainly do. And they're
two
trans.
people.
The most famous transgender identifying people in the world.
Somebody wearing a dress with a male body.
Wildly false.
The material presence of a man in a woman's dress perhaps could come about as a sexual fetish. I think we agree on that, but I don't think that. I think what we're trying to say is that that's a very different thing than we're describing.
No, I guess that's what I'm saying too. That there are these. So we all agree there are these different causes for this kind of identity.
Just a second here, guys. If you're watching the video till now and you're enjoying the video, please make sure to like the video and subscribe the channel for more videos like this. moving on to the video now.
You came not to talk about transgenderism. You asked me about abortion. So you support abortion.
Absolutely.
And you support it. Do you support abortion? We didn't even talk about it, even though this is the point. You do?
Yeah.
You won't need one, though.
No, I won't need an abortion anytime.
And you might not either because you're transgender or non-binary.
Do you believe that transgender people are all celibate?
I'm just a little confused as to what non-binary means.
Non-binary means I am not a man or a woman, regardless of what parts I was bestowed.
Okay. What you're saying is your body has nothing to do with whether you're a man or a woman.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think oftentimes the gender identity does describe a relationship to one's body. For example, if I were to say I am a transgender woman, I'm directly asserting that I am a woman and that I have, male genitalia.
Or you could have gone under the knife and lost your male genitalia.
I could have, yeah.
So you could be asserting that too. So I guess that's what I'm saying. It seems like you could just, all of these terms just mean kind of whatever you want them to mean.
No, not really.
It's
pretty
just,
concrete definition.
So you just said to be a transgender woman, I have to be wearing a dress or look like this. But
I didn't say I have to. I said that's just how I like.
What's the concrete definition of a transgender woman?
Somebody who is assigned male at birth who identifies and pursues womanhood.
Okay. And what is womanhood? Not to sound like Walsh, but what is womanhood then? What does that mean in that statement?
I would describe womanhood as a very subjective
But
concept.
you just also said we're talking about things that are concrete, and that's all. I'm just trying to grab onto something. What is the actual definition of the thing that you are using to define transgenderism?
I would describe womanhood as a set of characteristics associated with females, usually.
But that's a circular definition, and even the way you said it, I would describe, but I'm not asking you to describe anything. I'm asking if you can offer a definition, because it gets to the heart of your identity, which is you're 4 years old, you say, I don't really feel like a man. How would you even know what that would mean at the age of 4? And how would you know what that would mean now to feel like a woman?
Because there are a variety of traditions associated with the male and female sex, and I've decided that I'd rather subscribe to the ones associated with the female sex.
But how would you even know what that is?
How would I even know what the traditions associated with the female sex are?
Yeah, I mean, they could be just a caricature.
I know that mom stays at home and that dad goes to work. I know that all.
But you would disagree with that.
No.
You said you reject those roles.
I understand what a traditional gender role is. I don't reject that it as a concept exists. I'm not comfortable with these social expectations. Therefore, I am going to adhere to different social expectations that are generally assigned to the opposite sex. Yeah, it is.
No, you're not.
I'm saying it right now.
Well, now you are, but that's not previously what you said. Previously, what you said was there are these different social expectations associated with being a woman, and I so wanted to avoid them that I no longer call myself a woman. Not that a woman can avoid those social expectations, but rather that the social expectations are so intrinsic to womanhood that I will no longer be a woman. I will be a non-binary they, them. That's what you said earlier. You see the conflict, the contradiction there.
Yes, I understand where your confusion came from. So I don't want to adhere to the social norms generally pushed onto women. And I also feel intense discomfort when being called with feminine pronouns, when being called a woman, when being perceived as a woman.
Yeah.
And I understand those things aren't necessarily under my control, so, water off a duck's back. But I feel discomfort with that, therefore I choose to reject it.
Okay. Would you, just to tie it up, I don't want to spend the whole time talking about the issue that you wanted to talk about, would you ever get an abortion?
I could come up with a circumstance in which I would. I highly doubt that such a circumstance would arise.
Why wouldn't you?
Mostly just because those circumstances, I've never been pregnant. I do not foresee being pregnant in my future.
Okay, but why wouldn't you in principle, I guess?
In principle, I have no issues with it. Past certain points of development, I do believe you can start ascribing personhood to a fetus.
What would the point be then?
What would the point be?
Because you said, look, there's a point at which I would start to ascribe personhood, and then presumably you wouldn't have the abortion. So what is that point?
I'm not a doctor. And this isn't something that I've considered very much because, again, I don't foresee myself being pregnant.
Sure. But you intuit. I mean, you're obviously concerned about the issue of abortion. You showed up to this lecture tonight to ask me this long question about it. So you intuit that there is some point, at least, in gestation where the baby would be a person, and then it would be kind of wrong to abort the baby. So
that's me personally.
yeah. So I'm asking about your personal opinion.
That anyone should be forced to give up their bodily autonomy to save the life of another person, even if you're considering a fetus to be a baby, even if you're considering
so
a
even
fetus
if it
to
is
be
a
a
person,
baby from the beginning.
So then why did you bring up the personhood thing? You just said, look, I would.
That's how I feel. But I don't believe that the way that I feel should necessarily decide what other people do with their bodies and their lives.
You don't think that your conclusions are sound? You don't think that you perceive the truth?
I'm just not...
You don't think your logic is too good?
I think that believing that my perspective is universally correct, I think that that's hubris. I'm a human being.
But you came here to tell me that my views are wrong and your views are right.
I do believe that people
hubris?
have the right to self-determination very firmly.
But you would force me to live in a society that tolerates abortion.
I don't think that you're being personally affected by that. It's not affecting your right to self-determination. It's not affecting the way that you live your life.
Right. So you're forcing me to base my political judgments on your conception of self-determination. Don't you think that's a little coercive? Isn't that a little bit of hubris that you're showing here?
Well.
Well. That's what happens when you have facts backing you. Anybody could say that, oh, I'm right on this topic, or I'm right on this topic. But if you have facts with you, then everybody will believe you. But if you don't have facts with you, and you're just making argument based off, I don't know, societal pressure, or, based on your feelings, you wouldn't get so far. I'm actually very shocked that these people get so far, actually, that they have so big cults and so many people believing in them, No. Well. That's what happens when you make an argument out of feelings. You just don't have an answer when it comes to facts. You just don't have data. You just don't have anything or any information, any document to back you up. And when someone's speaking facts, like Michael Knowles here is, and he does know what he's speaking about, he can easily counter any argument. It's not about debate tactics. Okay, I know some of you might say, oh, is he just good at debating people? No, it's not that. It's not just... That is one part of it. He is really good at debating people, but he's also good at remembering things and researching about things. Okay, he learns things, he studies about things, and then he speaks about it. And it might sound a little, like I'm trying to say, oh, he's all good. No, it's not. But he does what he does. Okay, he really do study about the things that he say and speak about, and so that's why he's really good with these moments when he could just randomly cite any research data or statistic. And it's easy for him to counter any argument. That's the reason. Well, this girl here was trying to somehow corner Michael Knowles, and she got cornered herself with this hubris term. Moving on to the video now.
This is odd. Wait, I'm not even I'm not sure you're saying much at all. Could you repeat what you were saying? Try and be more specific.
Yes, you previously said that it's a demonstration of pride and hubris for you to take your own personal judgments and impose them and universalize them to everyone else. And then in the very next breath, you said that your views of bodily autonomy and self-determination ought to apply to everyone, and we all ought to abide by them. That's why you came here to tell me that I'm wrong and you're right. That's a contradiction.
I also believe in democracy, and the majority of Americans side with me. They believe in the right to bodily... Yes.
I'm not so sure. I mean, after Roe v. Wade was overruled, half of the states imposed limitations on abortion or banned it outright. That's democracy for you, isn't it?
Are you under the impression that we live in an absolute democracy?
No, but we live in a representative democracy.
Yeah, we do live in a representative democracy, and those representatives their actions do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the people that they represent.
So you support democracy in principle, just not ours?
I support democracy.
But not our democracy.
I support our democracy.
Well, we have a representative democracy, and you just said that the representatives...
You're putting a whole lot of words in my mouth.
I think I'm just repeating what you said, and I'm trying to...
You're not.
You just said that you support democracy. And I said, okay, well, in our democracy, half the states decided to severely limit or outright ban abortion. And you said, well, you're assuming that we're a direct democracy. I said, no, we're a representative democracy.
I didn't say that we were a direct... I was explaining to you that we do not live in a direct democracy.
That's what I'm saying, right. But then I said, right, we live in a representative democracy. And you said, well, that's not representative of the people. But then what that would mean is you support some kind of democracy in theory, but you don't support the actual one we have here, which outlaws abortion in half the states after Roe v. Wade is overruled.
I prefer democracy to actually genuinely represent the feelings and best interests of the people living in that democracy.
What if 50%
Every
plus?
once in a while, I mean, do
What if
you
50% plus-
believe the government, do you 100% agree with the government of the United States on everything all the time?
No, I sometimes...
And would that mean that you hate democracy in America?
No, I think sometimes most people disagree with me, but that doesn't mean that I would sacrifice my view and the rightness or wrongness of my view to the mob or something like 50% plus one. If 50% plus one of the electorate came out and said that abortion is murder and we're going to ban it in all circumstances, would you still support democracy?
Of course.
You would.
Democracy, what is that Winston Churchill quote?
That's the worst form of government other than all the other ones that have been
Yes.
tried. Yeah. So you would support that.
Absolutely.
We just got to convince 50% plus one of the people and you would be the biggest pro-lifer in the country, ban abortion everywhere.
I mean, I wouldn't agree with it, but I would live with it.
You would live with it. That's good.
I don't believe in imposing my beliefs on others. If the majority believes that abortion is murder, then obviously I'd be forced to go along with that. I don't believe in political violence. What would I do? That would be horrifying. No.
Wow, great. All right, so maybe I convinced you a little bit in my talk then.
No.
That's what it sounds like I did. But
saying that I'm not against political violence doesn't mean...
you said you would support...
I wouldn't try and
support the outlawing of abortion if most people wanted it.
I don't think they're saying that they would totally comply with the social acceptability of being pro-life. I think they would still try to convince people within the marketplace of ideas what they believe in.
Okay, so you wouldn't accept what the majority.
I think when they say it,
you just try to convince them otherwise.
Yes,
I think they're trying to say they wouldn't override democracy with political violence. They're not saying that.
Oh, well, that's good.
The market.
No one had suggested that.
Yeah,
that would have been terrible. Demi, thank you very much.
It's great to talk to you.
Ferris.
I don't know why, but then in this whole show, the girl on the right side was just trying to somehow get something out of Michael Knowles. Get him like gotcha moment out of Michael Knowles. Like something that he will say and she will be like, oh, that's wrong and I gotcha, this and that. But she didn't got it. Actually, she was the one who got trapped in that gotcha moment when she was trying. She said hubris. And then he was like, oh, yeah, but isn't that hubris what you just said? And then she was like, yeah, I don't have any answer. Whatever. Well, she didn't really had an argument to begin with. What to say? The whole argument about abortion and, well, abortion is a very specific argument, but the argument that, you can identify as whatever you want is really absurd, in my opinion, though. Well, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. I'm Manolord from Manolord Reacts. I'll see you in the next video. Till then, take care, everyone, and bye-bye.